Hey folks, we're going to make a hearty weeknight family dinner consisting of pan-fried chicken and scalloped potatoes. That's right, it's meat and potatoes with cheese. Can't beat that. This is one of those meals you probably have everything in your refrigerator already. Here's the ingredients you're going to need. Again, you probably already have everything. I'll go ahead and put a ingredient list in the description below. And yes, I am using some russet potatoes and some red potatoes. I'm doing that because I had a few russets left and a few reds left, and I just don't want to waste anything. So go ahead and chop those up into about an eighth of an inch slice. You don't want to julienne these, so about an eighth, maybe a quarter inch. Nah, that's too thick. About an eighth of an inch. You could use a mandolin in this case, and that would be perfectly fine. Just have it put on the thick cut, but it doesn't take long to slice these up. Notice I'm using a larger knife than a regular chef's knife. It's got a thicker blade, not a thicker blade, but a wider blade on it. That helps to keep everything even when you're making thicker cuts like this. If it's thicker cuts of meat or thicker cuts of vegetables, it works a lot better than a thin knife. Now take your baking sheet, about 9 inches by 9 inches, and spray that with some non-stick cooking spray and fill it up with your potatoes. The reason we use cooking spray or oil instead of butter, butter is mostly water and that will evaporate. The oil prevents sticking a lot better in this case. Now once that's filled up, just go ahead and set it to the side and take out your favorite saucepan and throw in 1 stick of butter. I said it was delicious. I never said this was healthy. And let that melt. You probably should chop it up before throwing it in the pan. Or if you like, you could just use brute strength with a spoon to chop it up. Either way works. When your butter is almost melted, go ahead and add in your garlic. I like to use a garlic press instead of chopping it up with a butcher's knife. The garlic press gets it a lot finer than I ever could. Plus, it releases a lot of the oils in the garlic, and that adds a extra layer of flavor. Now go ahead and add your 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. This is going to act as a thickener. And we'll add our heavy pinch of salt and grind some pepper in there. Now give that a good stir. Next, add 2 cups of whole milk. If you're in a bind, you can use 2%, 1%, or even skim, but the whole milk has the most fat content in it, and that's going to give you a lot fuller flavor. Now let's go ahead and grate some extra sharp cheddar cheese. I buy it in these large 2-pound blocks from one of the membership clubs. It's a lot more cost effective to do that way, and I've never kept a block of cheese long enough for it to go bad. We want to grate about 16 ounces or about a pound of cheese. Now, if you have to use the pre-grated cheese, that's fine. But if you can, it's always best to use cheese grated directly off the block. The pre-grated stuff contains some additives, mostly additives to keep it from sticking together. And since there's so much more surface area there, it oxidizes and ages a whole lot faster. When you grate it off the block, it's completely fresh. That cheese has never touched the air. It hasn't oxidized any, and it makes a creamier shredded cheese. It melts easier, and anytime there's less preservatives, that's a very good thing. Let's go ahead and take its temperature. We're looking for about 120 degrees, 130. We're not trying to boil this, we're trying to melt the cheese. So just add a little bit at a time, give it a good stir, and don't rush this. There's just no reason to. This board scraper is an incredibly useful tool. If you don't have one, I suggest getting one. They're really cheap. I'll put a link in the description for you, but it's a multi-tool that you'll use over and over again. I think we should grate more cheese, so here we go. And we'll throw this in the pot too. Now bring your potatoes back out, and we are going to slowly and carefully pour our cheese mixture into the dish. Just go slow. We don't want to spill this. It's hot and it's sticky and it will burn you. And cover it with aluminum foil, and then we will place this in the oven. Yes, I keep a pizza stone in my oven. It helps regulate the temperature and keep it more consistent. Now let's turn our attention back to this pan-fried chicken. Go ahead and get your favorite pan and put a pat of butter in it and a tablespoon, maybe 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and put this on medium high so that the butter and the oil heat up, the butter melts. And in the meantime, go ahead and spread out, I don't know, maybe a quarter, maybe a half cup of flour, and add some oregano and your kosher salt to it. Next, let's get a chicken breast ready to cook. I like to buy chicken breast in large packages and then vacuum seal them individually in a pack like this and then freeze them. And it's a lot more economical to do it that way. So just open up your package, and we're going to trim off any excess fat, cartilage, anything that just doesn't look appetizing to us. But first, go ahead and, if you need to, get a paper towel, dry it off, get rid of any of the excess liquid. And keep in mind, this will contain salmonella, so be careful not to cross-contaminate your other surfaces. And after you've touched the chicken, be sure to wash your hands. Now, when I am cutting chicken, I like to keep one hand clean, that would be my knife hand, and one hand for all the dirty work. Now, notice how I'm pressing down with my left hand and slicing horizontally with my right hand. This is going to make 2 chicken cutlets. We could cook it whole, but thinning it out like this, making 2 thinner cuts or cutlets, makes it cook a lot faster, a lot more even. So go ahead and spread these out, and if you remember to do it this way, add your kosher salt directly to the meat. It's going to draw moisture out of the meat, and it's going to intensify the meat's flavor. This is general for any type of meat or cooking you're doing. Next, we want to dredge these in the flour mixture. So just take the chicken breast, press it in, give it a light press, shake it off, make sure it's good and coated, but you don't want any excess. So the excess will just clog up your pan, and shake off the extra, lay it directly in. And notice how I laid it from front to back. That will prevent oil from splattering on you if you just throw it in. So lay it gently front to back, and you don't have to worry as much about oil splatter. So watch this. Nice and gently, and just let it cook. Here I'm giving the pan a little shake. What that's going to do is let the crust set and not stick to the pan. Now, no matter how good your pan is, it's always going to be hotter near the heat source or the center of the pan in most cases. So after a few minutes, I like to rotate anything I'm pan frying just so that it cooks more evenly. And then after a couple of more minutes, let's check these, and yeah, it's time to go ahead and flip. See all that beautiful golden brown delicious crust? That's what we're looking for. After a few more minutes, go ahead and check its temperature. We want to make sure that our chicken is at 165. And I just flipped the one on the left because it needed a little bit more searing. The one on the right is absolutely perfect. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So go ahead and set those aside on a paper towel so it absorbs any excess oil. We do not want a greasy chicken. And let it rest about 5 minutes or so. Maybe not that long, maybe 3 or 4 minutes. And then go ahead and chop it up in slices like this. You can just serve everybody one whole cutlet or a half cutlet or whatever, but when you put it in individual slices like this, I find that portion control is a lot easier, and it just makes it all around a better presentation. So let's go ahead and plate this dinner up. Now the second best part, we get to plate it, and of course the best part is we get to eat it. So depending on how hungry of people you're feeding, how many people you're feeding, 5 or 6 of these strips seems to be an adequate portion. And then a couple scoops of potatoes. And again, this is a easy to cook midweek meal. Shouldn't take more than about 30 minutes of prep work. A little longer to cook the potatoes, but that's just sitting in the oven. And all around a delicious, hearty meat and potatoes family dinner. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, please be sure to like and subscribe. Really helps us out, and I hope you have a wonderful day.